We're here for the Wednesday night, guys. We've got the cavalry of PG and Coop here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Well, oh my goodness, I'm losing my breath. Hi, I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet. Like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway and gift it. So we're going to have a fun little episode here on this Wednesday night. Topics are, of course, a little bit scarce, but the good thing is we're right here in the middle of list season. So we'll talk ESPN's FPI, the chances that the Sooners can make it to the Natty. We'll talk about some of the top SEC games because Coop has got some of the hottest takes out there. And then PG is going to tell y'all all about recruiting because he knows exact dates of everybody's commitment. And we're going to hold his feet to the fire and he's going to tell us his information, gosh darn it. And we're going to make the magic happen. So hit us up on the Unfair Fan Line, 430-901-1906. And let us know what y'all think of the show. Y'all know that we love hearing all y'all strongest opinions. So just give us a call and hit that number, 430-901-1906. PG, Coop, happy Wednesday. What's going on, gentlemen? How we doing?
It's Beat Texas Day, not Wednesday.
It really is. Well, it is because the softball girls out kicking butt. It's what, 5-1 right now, and
5-1, bottom of the 4th coming up.
Yeah, and they just popped up an interesting stat. OU is 81-3 when TRA Jennings hits a home run.
Shut the front door.
81-3.
I mean, just that stat alone, like that's 84 games that she's hit a home run. Like it just kind of blows my mind. So this team is just this must what it be to feel like if you're Alabama in like about 5 years ago.
Right, just constant dynasty. Like you're winning everything. So PG, of course, tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, y'all can find me here on YouTube, the PG Show. You know, we're talking all things recruiting over there. So we're hitting official visit season. This is getting exciting.
Oh, yeah. This is when it's going to get fun. Yeah, it's going to get very much fun. So I'm actually kind of excited at what is going on here. I'm pretty excited about what it looks like this weekend. We've got visits this weekend. I dropped a video about 3 main names. PG, I know you mentioned that there's potentially a 4th that's going to come through this weekend that's of significance, possibly. No? Because we know Afalava is going to be in town. We got Cade, the big DN from the Dakotas, and Desan Brahm is the 3 that I know, but there may be one more special person on there.
I know you're getting some unofficials in with your officials, but Maki Williams is going to be in next week. That's the new offer that went out on the defensive line.
Yeah, that's next
week.
Which
I presume was to replace Cole Brayler.
Potentially, yes, since Cole went ahead and committed to Stanford, and it sounds like schooling was the most important thing to them, similar to what the rumors are around Babalola right now. But we'll see how that works out because other things have gone down. So now let's go ahead and talk about list. Cool.
Yes.
You know how we like to do list. We get.
I want to talk
about
the list. I want to talk about list. It just for your mentality, for your mental well-being. Please, Sooner fans. Everybody has nothing to talk about right now because they don't have Oklahoma softball and Oklahoma baseball and will we have a basketball program and $300 million facilities? They don't have that. So they come up with lists. And if you are a dude that has, I don't know, ever even, written for On3 or Rivals or ESPN, you now get the free on permission to use your brain to come up with a list. And let's just go with these lists are about as well vetted as like the AP poll. It's just not a very good deal. So if you see some of these lists and they look like absolute dog crap, look at who wrote it. If you never heard of the dude, do some Googling. If you still haven't heard of him, dismiss.
Obviously, Coop ain't very happy with these lists, but let's go ahead and jump into this real quick because ESPN's FPI came out, the Football Power Index, which the preseason rankings is the toughest to really get in on or really want to get in on because the way they do it is they take the last 2 seasons and then they take your returning production and the people that's returned from those last 2 seasons, jumble it all together and spit out an analytics number that tells you where you think a team ranks. I did a video on that. Of course, it launched earlier this morning. And to be honest, I was a little shocked that Oklahoma was ranked as high as they are. So Oklahoma actually comes out in 10th. So I'm going to pull this up so you guys can enjoy the visuals of it. Let me find it because I actually just lost it on accident. Is this our FPI? Nope, that is our returning production, but this is the FPI. So let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen in a second. That way you all can see what this looks like, because I guess what jumped out to me on this is, yep, it is you. You're the one that I want to look at. And here it is. I've color coded it because, it only made sense to put it all in color so you all can see it a little bit better. But as far as FPI goes, Georgia's leading the way. Texas is right behind at 3, Alabama 5, and Oklahoma's number 8. So ESPN's numbers, the 20,000 simulations and everything, really likes where our Sooners is looking right now, with a projected win total of at least 8 wins next season, with Bama at 9, Texas and Georgia both at 10 wins if everything goes directly in the actual direction of the favorites and all of that jazz. So, PG, seeing Oklahoma at this number and everybody else, what jumped out to you? What jumps out? What makes sense and what doesn't make sense?
Texas doesn't make sense to me. And I don't understand where everybody's getting these projections and where everybody believes Texas is going to be this great team, because I understand they've got all these returning players that used to be 5 stars, 5-star wide receivers, 5-star corners, 5-star safeties, but they haven't done anything there. They don't have the production yet. For some reason, somehow, we're pulling all these numbers out of the air to make Texas a top contending team in the SEC, and everybody's got them potentially making the playoffs again. Like, I just don't see it. That one jumps out to me. I think Missouri's a little lower than I would have thought. I actually probably would have Missouri above Alabama.
Ooh, that's pretty spicy. Coop, what do you think about that? Like, because to me, it's a little spicy there.
So this is all returning productivity from last year, correct?
Yeah, so this is their rankings that they've created based upon the returning production,
Yeah.
Yes.
And so around this, I mean, it's obviously chemistry. Like, I feel great about Oklahoma because most of the production that we're bringing back, these are guys that have actually played together, and you sprinkle in 1 or 2 additional guys in here, and that is so much easier to incorporate than the mercenary activities, like bringing in people from in mass quantities. So I mean, I feel great about this, and you got to see, because I mean, some of the production just across the board. This is Oklahoma, Tennessee, A&M, whatever. These are you always look at it as when guys are not supposed to be the dude, and they can just be free to be productive. And then what happens when guys get elevated into, now you need to be a leader, and now you need to be the bell cow on the offensive line, in the linebacking core or something like that. So I mean, these are always great to see, just who's returning, just because you got a good good feel to where if you're returning a lot less and you catch those guys, a lot less production, you catch those people earlier in the season, that's a more favorable matchup than, later in the season when they've got even more production together underneath their belt. So this looks great for Oklahoma. I mean, this is a top 4, and you take a look at another list, which is like the toughness of schedule. And we went from like the toughest schedule to like the 8th toughest schedule in the SEC or something like that, recently. So it's just absolutely crazy. And Lemon, you're right. It's everybody. We're talking about football, and this might be one of the only times in the world we're talking about football, and we kind of care about it less than what's in the other screen. So
I look over every once in a while to see what's going on here. Oklahoma's 5-1, bottom of the 4th, 2 outs, and we'll be able. Maxwell's about to get the batter out, and then we'll go into the top of the 5th. So yeah, this is getting a little interesting over there. But no, Coop, you're right. So I've switched it out. This is the returning production numbers, and this is what jumped out to me when I saw this. And PG, this kind of goes with your theory around Texas, right? So at the beginning of winter, Texas was rated about 25th in returning production with 30 on offense, 30th on defense. After the portal went down, they dropped to 36 with 26 on offense. They went up because, bringing in some wide receivers, but they dropped down to 60. They dropped 22 spots on the defensive side of returning production because it seems like they lost too much. And that's what comes in that secondary, right? They lost all those secondary starters. Now, if you ask Texas fan, they'll tell you that the next guys up are better.
Yep.
They're the ones that they wanted to play anyway. They didn't think Brooks was going to be any good this year anyway. They wanted him gone. So, yeah, that's where
they were excited when they got him, though. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. But they dropped. Tennessee dropped, and Tennessee dropped a lot in returning production, right? They went from 94 to 108, which I think Tennessee's going to have a solid season, but breaking in an entire, roughly looks like a new team, that terrifies me. The saving grace for us, and this is the only reason why I've hyped up Oklahoma. Yes, we're at 44% offensive return because it's all offensive line and our quarterback. We're third in defense now. Right? We went from 79% defensive production returning to now 86, including your transfers. That's third in the country. We're bringing back a lot of players, guys. And because we're bringing back a lot of players on the defensive side, with a coach that emphasizes defense, that's going to help a lot. That's going to help. That's going to help a lot and take a lot of pressure off the back of Jackson Arnold and the offense, and even Seth Luttrell, because just last thing, like we're talking with Jake over on Hall of Fame, one of the newest guys, Alabama fan, played ball at Washington. We were kind of talking about it, and I pointed out that Oklahoma's bringing back all the defensive stuff with a defensive coach, and he's like, yeah, that's going to be the one thing that's going to carry out this year. And that's the thing that carries teams in the SEC sometimes. I mean, we saw that with Georgia on the first title, right? Everybody questioned if Stetson Bennett wasn't even any good because their defense was so stupid and ridiculous. But then he showed up in the national championship game. He was like, oh, okay, this walk-on can play. And then he had the ridiculous second season. I wonder if Oklahoma can pull that same thing, bringing in all this production and having a coach that has done a good job against SEC teams with his defense. Am I crazy?
I don't think that the defense will carry this team. I think this defense will highlight this team. And I think the offense is going to wow a lot of people because, like I said, learning about the offensive line potential problems now, and it's a concern. Like we're not walking into, a Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, but we have very good, very quality pieces. We've got a lot of skill talent. So I think it's going to be a defense that is going to be probably the best one that we've seen beginning to end for quite a long time. I mean, probably since early 2000s. And this offense, it's probably going to have the chance to be better than what we saw this year from a production standpoint, by the end of the year. So the Tennessee game is going to be fun because it's early. So what do they look like against us early? Because, Nico versus Jackson. I remember back at, Elite 11 wondering like these two guys are going to show up against each other at some point, and this is going to be a freaking firefight. And, these are the games that you want to see. I also think that the offensive production in the SEC is going to be a little bit lower than it has been here recently. So that looks good for a stronger defense also.
Yeah, PG, how you feeling about that? Because that was I'm in that same similar boat here with Coop on that. But I still believe, even though I agree with you, Coop, I still believe the defense is what's going to carry this team. And it's not a slight to what Jackson Arnold is. It's just we've got to break them in, right? And like you said, the good thing is Tennessee's early. They'll be in the same boat. I think we win that one handily. And then you start to see that Jackson Arnold trajectory later in the season, right? He's going to have his 4 games of warm-up to Tennessee, go to Auburn, hostile environment, and I think that's where it makes him into the man that he's probably going to be. That's probably the most critical game of Jackson Arnold's career is going to be traveling to Auburn, because I think that's the game that will recognize what he is and what he's not going to be. But what you think, PG?
No, I think you're right. The defense is going to carry this team this year, but I think it's not. I think people are going to take it as the offense won't be that good. No, I think the offense is going to be very good. In fact, I'm actually really high on the offensive line. I think these starters are going to go out there and they're going to impress in the first two SEC games. And the reason why I say the first two SEC games is because I think OU could put out a second-string offensive line against their non-conference schedule and it look decent. But I think when they get into the Tennessee and Auburn games, I think people are going to realize, okay, this offensive line's better than we thought. And I think a lot of that's going to be anchored through the addition of Branson Hickman. Now, what does the second-string offensive line look like? I have no idea. I'm actually in really high hopes that Spencer Brown turns into something really good for us, but can be that anchor for the second string, right? I would like to see Tarquin in that starting.
I think it's going to be Tarquin. It's going to be I think Michael Tarquin.
And I would like
is
to
going
see
be
Brown
does that.
Yeah, and I would like to see Brown kind of anchor that second string. But I think the offense will be really good. But I think this defense is going to be anywhere between top 20 to top 30 defense this year. I think they're going to be in that range. I think they're going to take that next step to an elite. And I think that a lot of that's because you're returning Billy Bowman, who is one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the country. You've got Danny Stutzman, who we all know the dude was kind of flirting with first round, right? You're getting him back at the linebacker position, and then next year, those guys that were behind him in that linebacker room, they're just going to be able to take that next level. So they get to learn from him for another year. It feels like you're moving pieces into the right spot, hence when you see Dasan McCullough moving to the Will, right? He's moving to Will?
He's played. I know that in practice he was a little bit at Will. I think they actually had him a little bit at Mike as well. 'Cause he has that capabilities. He can do both.
Yeah. And I just like what we've heard around who's going to play Cheetah and things like that. Like I overall think this defense is going to take that elite step, and it's going to carry the team. Like there's going to be games where I think this defense goes in and they're going to shut down a team this season that I don't think people expected them to go in there and shut down.
And that's kind of my point with it is that in saying and carrying it. And I think the other thing to add to that is if this defense is on the similar trajectory of what a Brent Venables defense has done the last three stops he's had. When he was here at Oklahoma, we saw a jump in the advanced metrics from the 50s to the 30s to the 10s, right? You saw that there. You saw that when he went to Clemson. Same thing, 60s, 70s, and efficiencies and everything. Moved up into the 30s, 20s, and 10s, and then he moved up into the top 10s. And he was basically holding that for like the next 2 or 3 years, right? Oklahoma's doing that exact same move. You see that same trend going. They still need some certain pieces in place, hence why you go get a Dominic Williams, because you still got to have a couple of those, big war daddies in the middle to disrupt things. But I think the one thing, and Hank mentioned this in the comments, which I think is probably the best comment, as someone else mentioned as well, this offensive line is going to go against this defensive line every day in practice. Jackson Arnold's probably going to see the toughest defense he's going to see this entire season in practice. And we all know that the way that Brent Venables has always practiced is that he throws everything at his quarterbacks, which is probably going to do nothing but sharpen him up, throw him in that fire. His iron's going to be prepared because in the SEC, they're going to throw everything at you. Mm-hmm. But if he's seeing the stuff that the most threatening he's going to possibly see, what makes us think that he won't be prepared again once we get to Auburn? That's the game to me that tells me what Jackson Arnold's going to be. It's going to be Auburn.
It's I'm starting to kind of jump on that game a little bit more. I think Auburn's always been that team in the SEC that like Auburn could be absolute anybody at any point and lose to anybody at any point. Like Auburn is just that team, and they are that Kansas State. And that's probably going to be the parallel that we see from them. And you know what? Another thing that I don't think we talked about much is these teams, they don't want Oklahoma and Texas running in here and getting any footing. They don't want that. Now, I think the saving grace, we are going to go from being the hunted in the Big 12 to being somebody who's, we're going to get a little shoulder check on the baseline like Caitlin Clark. Yeah, I work Caitlin Clark in here. But that's what everybody's going to be trying to do to us, is going to try to just knock us off of our spot. But I have a feeling that one of the reasons why I think that when we play the SEC teams, and I'm not talking about LSU in the national championship with one of the greatest teams of all time in their backyard, but just in a normal bowl game, normal matchup, we show out pretty well against because they haven't seen us. They haven't been able to do that. They haven't seen, how we've done things. And so that's what's great about this entire year is who the hell knows what anybody's predictions are going to look like? Like, why are we saying, like, how do we not know that UCLA won't win the Big Ten? They're not going to win the Big Ten, but I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying is like you saw success from A&M and Missouri when they first came to the SEC, and then they went silent.
Yeah.
So I that makes me feel pretty confident with our team.
And the good thing for us coming in too is that Georgia is really the only incumbent that has a truly tenured coach that you should really fear, because Bama ain't got Saban no more. So Brian Kelly's still new. I mean, this is only his third year there, just like with Brent Venables. Yeah, it's kind of where you at. But go ahead, PG.
No, I was just going to say the only thing that I would say to that with the Missouri and Texas A&M thing when they came into the conference is at that time the SEC was playing a different style of ball. I think the SEC is playing a similar style of ball to what Oklahoma and Texas are doing now. So I think it'll be easier for them to adjust to us coming into the conference, unless Seth Luttrell just decides to throw out some crazy, wacky offense that college football has never seen before. But I do think we're going to have a top 3 or 4 defensive line in this SEC this year. I think Alabama still might be a smidge better than Oklahoma's. I do like a lot of the talent they have there. But I mean, everybody else on your schedule, I don't think there's anybody rivaling yours.
Yeah, I agree. And I think DeBoer is still a very good coach. We've seen him win everywhere he's gone. I mean, he took Washington to the Natty, back-to-back 10-win seasons after taking over the job there after they're going 4-8 the year before. Even though he did bring in his quarterback that had 8 years of experience, he did very well with everything there, and he made it work. Now we got to see if he can repeat that in Alabama. I think he's going to have, of course, he's going to make a bowl game. That's no problem. I don't know about playoffs yet. I still need to see what his entire staff does as a unit before I can give him that. But I can definitely see them do. Bama's got the talent. And he knows how to coach talent, so I think that they'll be just fine long term with him, right? But to your point, PG, everybody does play a similar type style, but also defense is still pretty key, right? Like your Georgia's shut down your Ole Miss and your Missouri high-powered offenses rather quickly. And those games don't go anywhere in the way that those teams think they should. They go out there and they shut them down. We're still all chasing Kirby at this point. Kirby is the team that's being chased, and we're chasing the way that he plays defense, which is a la Nick Saban. So can Oklahoma and Texas walk in and see success? I do believe that, because I don't think everybody in the SEC is as good as everybody trying to hype them up to be. They still have – it's always been – Alabama, Georgia, with a sprinkle of LSU when they decide they want to show up. And then randomly you'll get Auburn pop up. And in Florida, whenever they decide to not hire 3 bad coaches in a row, they get a guy that's willing to let everybody fight in practice. Then they do good. But that's about it.
I like the strategy of just when you're facing one of the toughest conference schedules you've ever seen, and your kids are fighting in practice, and you're on the hot seat before the season starts. Yeah, it's a bold strategy.
Yeah, and this is the one thing. Lemon makes a good point here. That culture shift from a heavy D Saban team to a heavy O DeBoer mind frame. That's going to be interesting to see exactly how that works. Now, the good thing that DeBoer did was he retained as much staff from Saban's defense as possible, and that was good. Now they lost the young guy that they wanted to be offensive coordinator. I always forget his name. No, not player, coach. He went to Georgia, and they were thinking that Caleb Downs was going to follow him to Georgia. And if they would have did that, oh my God, I would have just said, just hand them the title.
Oh, you're talking about
starts with a T.
Is that who it is?
Starts with a T.
Oh, Tredarius.
There you go,
Tredarius Robinson.
Yes, Tredarius Robinson. I always forget Tredarius Robinson. I always think Travaris Jackson, the former quarterback for the Vikings. Every time it just Travaris. Yeah, Coach Rob was T-Rob was literally the one piece that if he could have hung on to him, but he's a Oh gosh, former Florida coach. That's the defensive coordinator there at Georgia. Oh, what is his name? I'm just having these moments.
Yeah, it's
You know
the
who I'm
name.
talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about too. Because
not Glenn Schumann, but the other one, Will Muschamp. There it is.
Muschamp.
Yeah, there we go.
Muschamp.
I could see him.
T-Rob is a Muschamp guy.
Yeah.
T-Rob's a Muschamp guy. So, but anyway, when you look at these lists, man, it's gonna be interesting. Now, this is one that jumped out. So, on that FPI list that I didn't go through, that we didn't stop on, is the chances to reach the college football playoffs. And here's your top 10. I want to get y'all's thoughts on who do y'all think can seriously actually do this. And
By the way, while you're doing that, we got 6-1, 2 down, bottom of the fifth. Little horns down for everybody, because we don't penalize you here for expressing your God-given right.
Look at that. Strizike. Beautiful. Look at that. All right, look at this. Here's your best chance to reach college football playoffs. Of course, the interesting one is, of course, Texas, 68%. Notre Dame at 59%.
Well, they have a cupcake.
I'm sorry? Sure. Penn State at 59. It's like Michigan doesn't even exist anymore in the Big Ten, which is funny because you got Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and then the rest, then independent Notre Dame, and then the rest is all SEC teams with Missouri, Oklahoma, and Tennessee basically tying at 37%. Oklahoma's technically at like 36.8, Tennessee's 36.2, Missouri's at 37.1, but they kind of round them up to the 37 number. Who shouldn't be here?
Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State.
I'd say the only one on that list that don't need to be there is Texas. Everybody else on that list, I can make a case for.
I'm just saying Notre Dame last year. I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed, and I just don't see.
Yeah, but they're going to be a lot better this year. With this will be year three.
For Marcus Freeman, yeah. This is his third year because this will be Kelly's third. So yeah, this will be his as well.
And you got to remember they got a quarterback now out there too.
But they had a quarterback this past year too.
The same Hartman.
Hartman was one of the most coveted
Hartman
quarterback
walked in there
transfers.
with 40 years of experience. Yes. He was real.
And he was
and
they went 10-3.
It's Sam Hartman though. I'm not.
They went from 9-4 to 10-3 though. Like you can't discount that part of it, right?
No.
Like you can't discount that.
And I don't.
And I mean their losses were to who? Ohio State, Louisville was really good. Clemson. And that's it. Beat everybody else.
And
beat Elko and Duke.
I will say Louisville and Clemson were not. I mean, those were bad losses.
Yeah, the Clemson one was bad. Louisville was a lot better. And I think Jeff Brom is doing some good stuff over there. But yeah, when I look at this list personally, I don't see a path for Penn State.
I do. Penn State, here's their marquee games this year.
Did West Virginia. They switched coaches this offseason, right?
No, I think this is the year that James Franklin can lose all of his big games and people are not going to be on him. Because think about it, a 9-3 or a 10-2 Penn State team can get to the college football playoffs. They got at West Virginia, which they're going to win that game. I don't think they're going to struggle with Illinois, even though Illinois I think is on the up and up. At SC, do you really think Lincoln Riley is going to beat a solid defense like Penn State? Like Penn State reminds me of the Kansas State to Lincoln Riley. I think they'll win that game at Wisconsin. Don't think they're going to struggle there. They're just more talented. Their toughest games this year: Ohio State at home, Washington at home. That's it. Like they could just lose those two games and they're getting in the college football playoffs.
Okay.
They don't have Nebraska on their schedule. They don't have Michigan. They don't have Oregon. USC, like I said, I don't think they're that good. And then Notre Dame, I think their toughest game on their schedule is probably at Texas A&M, and then their second toughest would be Florida State at home. Other than that, they got Louisville and at USC.
So I'm looking at this Penn State schedule, and I'm going to be honest. I'm looking at this. Yeah, there truly is an argument for them. Now, I don't want to write off West Virginia because Neil Brown had a really good year last year. I mean, they went, 9-4?
Yes, but I want you to understand, too, they have Drew, his last name's Allard. Yeah, this is his second year in football, but it's going to be his second year as a starter.
This is my favorite thing is that you had to try to figure out the quarterback's name.
I can't ever get it right. But no, like, this is his second year as a starter. I think we're going to see him take a leap. Like, I think people were really impressed with what he did last season in his, like, first true season as a starter.
No,
zero impressed.
No,
I was zero impressed with
because we said the same thing about the last kid, and then we said the same thing about the last kid.
Christian Hackenberg.
Hackenberg. Every single Penn State guy, it was always a guy who outplayed his talent as a freshman, and then he was like an Oklahoma defensive back, a couple of years ago, where you just got worse every single year that you played. And I would have to see improvement from a season-long deal multiple years in a row before I'd ever believe in a Penn State quarterback, because I think Penn State is just one of those teams that is always a quarterback away from competition, and they just cannot get a guy that actually was it Trace McSorley. I mean, he couldn't throw the football. They got these guys who can do pretty well when you're playing Indiana or Purdue or Maryland. But then when you actually have to go up against an actual defense who can, set the edge and tackle with their linebackers, McSorley could never throw the ball. And it's just rinse, wash, repeat.
Yeah. Now I will say,
let me put it this way. Let me add this to add to that. Let me throw a little bit of fuel on top of this for you real quick, PG. And what Coop said. Sean Clifford was also that quarterback that they said that just, give him that next year, he's going to get over that hump, right? So, Clifford threw for 3,000 yards in 2021. That year they went 7-6. That was post-COVID. They were still figuring things out, right? Give him a little grace. Next season, definite. They've got everything going for him. Next year, Clifford threw for 2,800 yards. They had two running backs that almost ran for 1,000 in Singleton and Allen. But he threw for 2,800 yards. Next year, Drew Aller's going to come in. Aller's going to be that guy, right? He come in, he threw for 2,600 yards. Like, if for some reason they never can get those numbers up, ever.
But I don't think they've ever really had weapons, though, like Julian Fleming as a wide receiver for their quarterbacks to be throwing to.
You sure?
I mean, yeah, they had Dante Cephas, but I don't think... Dante Cephas was at Penn State, right? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
Yeah, Cephas wasn't at Penn State. Actually, no, I think he transferred to Penn State and then he left again.
Yeah.
About only enough to play for him.
They've got elite line play on the defensive and offensive side of the ball.
They always do.
That's going to win them games. And if Drew Aller can put it together, which I think he can, especially with what they have on the offensive side of the ball with weapons at the wide receiver, I think like 10-2, 9-3 gets you into the playoffs as a Big Ten team. Unless Nebraska goes 11-1, then I think you're in trouble.
And that's funny
I know Cooper just looked at me like that, but Cooper, I'm telling you, go look at Nebraska.
Yeah, Coop, he's been high on Nebraska going at that record. They're not playing the entire Big Ten.
They ain't playing
East
nobody
anymore.
They're playing nobody.
But they're still playing nobody. So yeah,
like they're playing nobody. Cooper, here's Nebraska's schedule: UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, Indiana. Finally, a game at Ohio State, UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Iowa.
Except for there's one thing that you forget to mention. What team is on every single week of that schedule? Nebraska.
Hey, listen, that's the team last year that, if you were just like, listen, they got a quarterback, they're winning some games. They got quarterbacks now. Like, they've got people that can throw a ball.
I don't know.
Dylan Raiola's looked good.
I'm not saying he's not looking good, but he's also a freshman, and I don't trust freshmen.
Listen, in that schedule, you can trust the freshman in that schedule.
I don't know.
Give them 2 losses, and they're still 10-2. Nebraska's making the playoffs.
And I promise you this, every single team that has a chance of playing them in the playoff, that they're going to be down for that.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't be?
If Oklahoma gets Penn State in round 1 of the playoff, I'll be there. I will be there. Or Nebraska.
I see 4 losses on this schedule.
I mean, they could have more losses, but is USC really that much better than Nebraska? I mean,
no, but I think that they'll beat Nebraska at home.
It's like, but the thing is, here's my deal. I look at that schedule and go, all of those teams outside of Ohio State, Nebraska, I think, is on the same level of talent on.
I can see that. Now, that's something I can agree with.
So, I know what a Matt Rule defense is going to look like. We've seen it in 2 years at Nebraska. It's been really good. And I'm like, okay, so now they've got an offense too.
Now they have pieces for an offense. You're giving them success before they've been successful. Nebraska hasn't had any. Nebraska doesn't have a cornerstone where they can say, because of this, I feel good about this team. Whereas, you can do that with a lot of these teams where you could say, listen, when Missouri returns their offense was really good. Their defense was, did enough. And so maybe they're going to take a step. At least there's a pathway. Nebraska, you're just, you're saying you threw a turd in a top hat and you're pulling out a Lexus. And I just can't make those jumps.
I get it. I get what you're saying.
If they were 6-5 this year, PG, and they was down to the wire and it looks like they were emerging, I'd be in. But it's just these teams that are traditionally always just where they're at. Penn State, you take what was it, the COVID year that I think the COVID year is the only reason why James Franklin still has a job. And they balled out in the COVID year, and they haven't done anything since. But he has been like this almost every single year, to where it's Penn State this year. I called him. I called Penn State in the playoff last year, and so I just at that point I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to do this ever again.
No, I get it. I listen. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do think Nebraska has a really, really good shot here this year to be one of the most improved teams. But beside the point, because I don't see Nebraska on this.
I agree with that.
I kind of went off. I kind of went off base a little bit. It's interesting that they say this is the best chance to reach college football playoffs, because we know the top 4 seeds are going to be conference champions, and there's 2 SEC teams and 2 Big Ten teams in the top 4. So if I looked at this list that they have now, Georgia, Oregon, I agree with that at 1 and 2. They're probably going to be the top 2 seeds. I would say at number 3, you'd put Florida State. And then at number 4, you'd have to put a Big 12 team. So I'm going to select Utah to come out of the Big 12. So that'd probably be your top 4. I'll take Texas completely out of that list. But everybody else, I can pretty much agree with and see potentially making a playoff.
Honestly, I think Tennessee's a little high right now. Just with all of the players that they lost on both sides of the ball, that's a lot to replace. So we've got to see what they look like, right? So I think that they're too high. I do think Penn State's too high, because I think Penn State's going to do what they typically do, lose games they're not supposed to. I'm not sold on them. Notre Dame does have basically a cupcake schedule. They should be able to. Missouri, still got questions about them, but their schedule is quite favorable as well. But Oregon, I'm surprised Oregon's that low. I think Oregon's going to cook that entire conference, personally. Oh, yeah, by the way, score 7-1. We are headed to the what?
We're heading to the top of the 7th, and BV is trying.
So this game should be over.
Bottom of the 6th. Bottom of the 6th.
Yeah.
Bottom of the 6th. BV's trying to send his own
over.
players into the transfer portal with the Oklahoma softball team.
Yeah, it feels like it. Yeah,
hey, Toby McKenzie, I think Kenzie Hansen's got that real MLB thump.
Yeah, they cooking right now. So shout out to the girls, man. They are eating right now.
And I'll say this. I wish Kobe and Kenzie the absolute best. And if those two get married and have children, we've got at least one 5-star coming down the pike because that kid will be a freak athlete.
I mean, same thing with Billy and Jada.
Yeah,
So yeah,
Billy and Jada. They're gonna give birth to freaking Spider-Man. Like that's all there is to it. Billy and Jada.
They're gonna have some athletes, right? Great coaching, great parents, great athletes. It's gonna be stupid. But anyway, Oklahoma's cooking Texas right now. So yeah, I got to get a little bit of softball in here. I don't talk
Hold on,
softball
because this will
I watch a lot and I just don't know it.
This will get your chat riled up. Do you think we hear Mike White tonight talk about home field advantage?
Of course we are. He's gonna complain about it. Everybody seems to complain about it, but it's funny because everybody that complains about it, I always ask, so you do the same thing for Creighton and Nebraska when it comes to the College World Series being in Omaha every year. But nobody ever responds. They're like, well, blah, blah, blah. It's because Nebraska and Creighton aren't any good.
You want to know what I bring up when they bring this up? I say, where's Oklahoma State at?
I mean, Oklahoma State's up the street around the corner, too. No, you're right.
Where's Oklahoma State at? Every year, they're on the couch.
Well, see, that's the thing, PG. That extra 30 minutes takes away the home field advantage.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. It takes away the home field.
You can't. It makes it hard to score.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes it a lot tougher.
So let me ask you this, going back over here. If we look at, is there a team out there right now that you think nobody's talking about, nobody's bringing up, nobody's saying anything about that could actually, make some noise that we're not, they could be in the, 15 to 25 range or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's a group of 5 team. Do you guys want to take a guess at who it is?
UTSA.
Tulsa.
Tulane.
Ugh.
They had a decent portal class. I'm telling you, and they've been decent.
They also got new coaching staff.
They also lost coaching staff, lost their Pratt. And,
they lost their entire coaching staff.
I
can't buy in on them until I see what they do. Because, remember, their coach is at Houston. So, technically, we're going to see Fritz anyway because Fritz is at Houston now. And he did the exact same thing at Houston. So, he brought a whole bunch of Tulane kids, had a really solid class come in, sent a lot of players out as well. I totally get you on they had a solid transfer class in. I don't know if they got the other pieces outside of those transfers, though. Oh, because most of them left.
Okay. I'll
give them a year, and then we'll see what the coach can put together. But, yeah, the good thing is like you said, they've had some solid teams, and he didn't have to break that down to the studs. That's the one good thing for him going into Tulane. It's the foundation isn't that bad, but I still got to see him put it all together as a coach.
What do you guys think about UTSA? Because, UTSA, they cleaned up in the portal. But also, they've been a really solid team, in football. Every year, they're a solid team. Do you think they could take that next step and that leap?
I think does Texas have them again?
Yes, Texas has got them.
Texas got them. The last time we thought Texas was going to struggle with UTSA, they put it down on them pretty rough. And so we'll see after that.
Put it down pretty rough.
The game that I'm talking about was it 2 years ago or was it this past year? But it was everybody's like,
2 years ago.
It was UTSA is going to get Texas. Watch out. And they played them tough for about a quarter and a half, but they just didn't have the athletes and they kept giving the ball to Texas, in the red zone. And so, that's the piece where I go with UTSA. You're cleaning up, but you're getting guys that couldn't start at D1 schools or Power 5 schools. And so if you can't start at Power 5 schools, I don't know how you take a lot of C- listers and then put them to go beat all the guys that they couldn't beat out in practice. So that's my only thing with UTSA, because I think that their skill set is great. I think they can get you in a bowl game. I think that if you get them on a game before a big conference game, they can get you right there. But I just don't. I just don't know if I can see it for the whole season and standing up. And that's going to be, I think, one thing that's really, really tough is we're going to get more Cinderellas and they're going to get curb stomped as soon as they get to the playoffs. And I think that because I still don't think the playoffs open up the teams who can win a national championship. They just open up the teams who can play for one. I still think the teams that can win are probably still about the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think it opens up for the teams that can win because, like, last year I thought there were 6 teams that could win the national championship. So, like, I think it opens up your pool a little bit bigger because I do think anywhere in a given year there could be 4 to 6 teams in a given year. But, like, I think some teams are hindered by injuries. So, like, the 2020 Oklahoma team, I think that team probably could have competed for a national championship. They had too many losses on their schedule to get up there and compete. But in the expanded playoffs, they would have had the opportunity to. So then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
And we had 4 guys suspended for hijacking a dude. So, like,
yeah, we don't.
That usually hurts.
Yeah,
that's why we didn't make that year. Was not so much injuries, but stupidity. And the reason why I asked the question is, Jay, you brought up this team earlier, so it steals a little bit of my thunder. Is I think West Virginia is a team that nobody is paying attention to, nobody's talking about, and nobody is going to be looking for early in the season. And so I think that we're going to open up, and I don't even have their schedule. Maybe I'll look at their schedule here real quick, but they're going to do some stuff, and teams that haven't traveled out there to West Virginia, and now you get your first trip out to West Virginia, you get to see the crazies. It could be really good. Oh, I hear we have a Ted Roof mention in the comments.
Wait, you think West Virginia could win the Big 12?
Yeah.
Over Utah?
Yeah.
Over Kansas State?
Yep.
Yeah.
Over Arizona's high-powered offense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Arizona lost their coaching staff.
That's a bold take. I think that's a bold take.
Okay. So why
that might be bolder than my 11-1 Nebraska.
Give me West Virginia. I mean, they played good ball this past year, and they're on a trajectory. So when the stuff you're talking about with Nebraska and Penn State, like this is West Virginia already has something set up and is already pressing, and they are a few skill. And I think the bless your heart Big 12 is I'm not even impressed with Utah at this point. And I think Kansas State's going to be dangerous. But you've got that freshman quarterback, you've got a new running back, you've got a lot. But I think West Virginia is one. And again, they have a shot at winning the Big 12. Who are they scared of? They are not scared of Arizona, and they sure as hell ain't scared of Utah.
Nope.
Every single incumbent is going to think that these guys are going to come in and get whooped this year like Cincinnati did, and like UCF did. So I fully believe that West Virginia is going to be a really, really good team. Now, could they end up 8-4? Yeah, sure. That's probably it. But I just think this is a team that I don't think that anybody's talking about that has pieces and a trajectory. And now if they go 5-6 this year, I think homeboy gets fired, and then I was wrong. And like PG said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm wrong.
I just think there's a lot of better teams in the Big 12. I kind of look at it and I go, West Virginia, that's interesting.
I mean, West Virginia's bringing back a lot of people. And
I know, but like Kansas is going to be returning Jalen Daniels, and if he's out there on the field, I think Kansas
is he going to be on the field though?
If he's out there on the field.
I think he will.
You say that. He hasn't been out there the last 2 years.
I think because there was talk.
We didn't know.
There was talks that he could have played last season, and people weren't understanding why he wasn't playing. And I think it was, one, because Bean was playing well for you. But two, it's like you could bring him back, and you can bring him back in a year where Oklahoma and Texas aren't going to be in this conference, and you have a better chance of winning it. So I think they kind of held him out for a whole year to get him 100% healthy so they could try to make a run at this thing this year.
I mean, it's not a bad strategy. So West Virginia is 32nd in returning production. They're bringing back... They're number 14 in offense, 79%. Defense, 86th at 57%. But they're 68% total in returning production. They're 32nd in the country. So they're bringing back
9-4 last year.
And they went 9-4. And their offense is really the heavy thing for Neil Brown. Revamping the defense, got a lot of stuff to look at. But this is my problem I have with Utah as well as Kansas is their quarterbacks. I have not seen them play a full season in a few years. And I got to see them be healthy. And history has shown us. Once you get hurt, you're probably going to get hurt a few more times every single season. We saw that with Dylan Gabriel. Like Dylan got hurt his shoulder at UCF. He came here, first year here, got injured. I mean, it's a dirty hit, but he was hurt for 2 games. Or at least a game and a half. And then Last season, he came out. He was banged up. So it seems to be tradition. Quinn, we ain't seen Quinn finish an entire play a full season yet. That's why only question I have about Texas, and I laugh with my Texas buddies. That's kind of the big thing with them is that I can see the pushback on it because we got to see him play a full season. Now everybody's still throwing all their chips in on Arch, thinking Arch is going to be that replacement, but I got to see a full season of health out of that quarterback spot.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I just think talent-wise, there's better teams than West Virginia, and
I mean, I don't know. I don't disagree
Oklahoma
with
State,
you there.
Oklahoma State at this point, I'm tired of saying that they're going to be terrible because I guess Mike Gundy he doesn't have that being terrible gene in him. He just has the gene to not be able to win the big games.
He ain't clutch.
Yeah.
But they ain't terrible. And Texas is scoring 2. That's 2 runs for Texas. It's now 7-3. Texas is making a little bit of a run here in the bottom of the 6th.
Yeah, we're about to see Nicole May come in.
Yeah, I got to bring in the closer.
Or we could see Kirsten Deal because Kirsten Deal.
I think we see Deal.
Because she won't play tomorrow, so it'll be May tomorrow. So, right?
So let me rewind here. West Virginia, we get to game 1 of the year. Penn State, West Virginia, at West Virginia. So we get to settle one of these 2 debates pretty quickly. And then they've got Albany at home, at Pitt, Kansas at home. So there you go. We get that. And, again, with Jaden Daniels, that's a guy that if I'm a coaching staff, I'm doing everything to not play him because I don't want my whole team to bank on this dude again and it just lead to nothing.
Oh.
But this schedule for West Virginia is pretty dirty. And it could be rough because they got Kansas a week 5, then at Oklahoma State, Iowa State at home, Kansas State at home, at Arizona, at Cincinnati, Baylor at home, UCF at home, and then at Texas Tech to end the year. So I mean, they've got a pretty salty schedule, just with where they're playing who. And so I mean, if they throw out another 9-4, 10-3 type of season, that's going to be pretty. That's going to be pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean that'll just put West Virginia back on the map again.
And then West Virginia, man, I'd hate to be West Virginia. You do all that work to get to the Big 12, and the conference kind of turns back into Conference USA.
Yeah, no, right. It would feel like Big East. We get Big East football again or whatnot.
Except
all
this
right,
them in the conversation. This starts to get them in the conversation now to get into playoffs and stuff.
It is. Everybody knows the Big 12 is Power 5. The Big 12 is the new
Power
Pac-12.
4. Power 4.
Yes, Power 4. Power 4 plus. I guess I'd actually call it the Power 2 plus because let's be honest.
Wait, did she just
wait?
That she's out of the baseline.
That was weird.
Okay. If she went outside the second line, she's out.
Yeah, she stepped out the second line, but they didn't call it.
Yeah, they called her safe anyways.
Yeah,
they'll challenge it.
Did she step on the line? She did step on the line. Well, I can't see because the ump's
about
in
to
the
see. Oh no! Yep, umpire. But
Yeah,
she's okay. Here you go.
Oh, she didn't get the tag though.
Yeah, but if you run outside that line, you're outside the base path, and they can call you.
She stepped inside the line, and then she jumped on the other one. Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be a close call. Because I think half of her foot was off, half of it was on.
I'm not sure on the rule in that in softball. It's man, it's
anyway.
There's gonna be a challenge. So if the rule is that she stepped out the line and she's out, she's out. So,
yep.
But yeah, here we go.
So wrap up with recruiting. PG, I know we got some big players. We got a good start to OV season, right?
This is a big weekend for your OV season.
Yeah, you got the camps going on starting tomorrow. And that's through it's tomorrow, and what's the dates? Is it
okay, so your high school camps are June 6th, 8th, 13th, 18th, and 20th. Those are the high school camps. So freshmen, true freshmen, all the way up to seniors. And then you're going to have youth camps, 4th, 11th, and the 24th. So anybody ninth, 8th grade below. So like we had a 20-30 kid on campus on June 4th, like a kid that's actually being looked at by other schools, 20-30.
Right. And so as far as the OVs go, you've got K from North Dakota, the edge.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Darius Afalava from Utah, the interior offensive lineman. He's still coming to town. And then Desan Brom, which Brom's Oregon. I mean, I would love to have that talented tight end. It just doesn't feel like our tight end recruits trust that we're going to actually use them, since they haven't been used in the last, 2 years?
Since Mark Andrews left.
Yeah. So I think Brame is the reason why it's such a big weekend, because I think he's kind of like your last hope at tight end. I know there's some people that are hopeful we're going to flip Nate late in the season, but I think it would take us having Jake 600, 700 yards this season.
I think it's a possibility.
I mean, it's a possibility, but I think it's going to take a lot to get Nate to really flip. So I'm not counting on that. I look at Brame and I say, like, Oregon is a clear-cut leader, but Oklahoma's not out of this because he hasn't committed yet, and he's had plenty of opportunities to shut it down with Oregon, and he hasn't done it. And he showed up to Oklahoma a couple times just out of the blue off the books. So
if that's the case for Brame,
I think there's a chance. I think you got to hit it out of the park, but I think there's a chance. And
he's committing on the 29th, so he's committing the 29th of this month, right after
his Oregon visit. Correct, but that's the thing. Like Oklahoma could really go out here, and they called that Pell on the call. Stupid.
Yep. Yeah. They called us safe. So
yeah.
Oklahoma need to get this one out. Just get this one out. Get out this inning, because this is not good.
I hope you don't have to make a pitching change in this inning, but you might have to. No, I think Brame, if you can somehow turn the tides in the Brame recruitment, which at one point Oklahoma was a leader, so I don't think it's out of the question to say that they can do that. This is if that's the only thing you do this weekend, that's a success right there. But then you look at Darius Afalava. Oklahoma has been super intentional with this kid since they offered him. And that's kind of what has gotten Oklahoma into the mix, kind of being a late team, is just the intentionality in this recruitment, making sure that, hey, like, we're not throwing an offer out to you because we've lost other guys. Like, we actually think you're someone that could really play for us and make an impact. So Darius Afalava is the other one you look at, because if you land him and then you only land one of the 5 stars, like, your offensive line class is solid. Like, you maybe pick up one of your PWOs as a scholarship guy just to get one more dude in that room. But this is a really solid weekend because you got just a few recruits on the official visits, and you can be super intentional with what you want to do with those guys. And I would imagine Kevin Sperry would probably be up here this weekend.
Oh, he will. Yeah, he'll be working at the camps.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see if Cade tries to shut things down, because he had Wisconsin. He just came from Wisconsin this past weekend. Oklahoma's this weekend, but he hasn't scheduled anything with Kansas State or with who else is on that Final Four? There's Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Kansas State, and who was the 4th team? Hold a second. Let me pull it up.
Wisconsin.
I actually have him. Was it Wisconsin? No, it was Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Kansas State, and there's a 4th team.
Nebraska.
That's what it is. He hasn't scheduled anything with Nebraska or Kansas State yet. I'm wondering if he actually does.
I don't think so. From what I understand, like, he gets along really well with Miguel Chavis, like, kind of like a spitting image of what Miguel Chavis wants. But, like, the problem is it's really hard to get information out of this kid. Like,
I can see that. He didn't talk.
He's like a Grant Bricks, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's all hearsay, word of mouth. But, I mean, the word of mouth and the hearsay is that this is the weekend. Like, this is probably the weekend he shuts it down. But I've kind of went back and forth on this because Oklahoma sits in such a good spot for some of these defensive ends, like Smith or Rogbo, who every time you talk to him about Oklahoma, he says, feels like home. I like it there. I can see myself there. It's home. Then you look at Isaiah Gibson, the current USC commit. Like, OU stupid high on that list. Like, I did not realize how good of a spot Oklahoma was until after he committed to USC until the other day. So,
Really?
I look at it and I go, man, like if you take Cade Petchak and then you get, like, you're only going to take one of Orugbo or Gibson, or are you going to take both if they want to hop on board? Like, I think it's getting to that point where it's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what you do because none of these guys
I can answer that there.
Line.
You probably got to take all if you could get all three, you take all three. Because think about
but
it.
You got to get CJ Nixon too.
Well, I mean, you can have Nixon play tight end or edge. You know, he can go either both sides of the ball too. So, I mean, it's 5, but think about it. You got Ethan Downs leaving, Trace Ford's gone, you got Caden Woolard that's gone. That's 3 already right there, right? That's 3 veterans out the door. And so now you're running with Okoye, Wyatt Gilmore, PJ Adbuare, as well as R. Mason Thomas. I mean, that's really your 4 edges that you'll be really running with.
And Wine.
Yeah, you still got Wine as well. You got Taylor Wine. So from there, you kind of need to add some additional bodies for the long haul in the SEC, right? Young ones. So I think that if you have an opportunity to take 5 in this class and they're good, you go for it. But now I don't think we will. I think you get Nixon. I think that Cade is probably one that comes through. And I think you get Orogbo. I think that's probably the 3 you get. Granville's a pipe dream. I mean, I heard that he still has a liking for Oklahoma, but I think he's a pipe dream.
Yeah, I'm off that train.
The local is it's just too much on the local piece with that. Feels like a Hicks situation, but not as at the finish line. So yeah, I'd say those 3, and then defensive tackle is going to be the big one with Cole Breeler being off the list.
And Christian Evans had a really good time at UNC. And I got a chance to follow up with him, but I think it was kind of expected that UNC was going to kind of jump out in front as the first OV. Yeah,
it makes sense. And the good thing is with him, it seems like it's going to take us all the way through. It's gonna probably take us all the way through all of his OVs.
Yeah, right? He's a pretty smart kid. He's gonna do his due diligence.
He's gonna do due diligence. Yeah.
And Oklahoma doesn't have a bad business program.
No, their business program is pretty good.
Yeah, so that's where he wants to go. That's gonna help.
The Dakota Terrell. Have you been here? Have you heard anything about him? Because this is a kid who I continue to kind of wonder what OU is going to do. Is this a preferred walk-on type of scenario? Because, I mean, at 6'9", 210, 220-ish going into.
Nobody knows what he wants to do. Is he going to play basketball? Is he going to play football? Like, what's he going to do? And then, I think the other problem is if he decides to go football, Michigan's been in this race pretty long, and they have some pretty strong relationships there. So I think when you go to the football side, it's like – that
was his first offer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like, does Michigan lead here, right? You know, there's teams that have been before Oklahoma, and so it's just like again, it's one of those recruits where it's like, if we land him, great, because he's a freak, but does he play football?
It feels like he's a PWO type situation, and I know a few of the other insiders have made mention that they wonder if this ends up being where Oklahoma moves a player over into tight end, where we don't really probably pull one. And I say that in the light of, and I've said this on a couple videos as well, and I'm going to continue to toot this horn of, it's probably in Oklahoma's best interest to focus on the portal for tight ends for right now, until we kind of prove that we actually going to use the heck out of the tight end, right? Now, granted, we're going to use Bauer Sharp a lot. Bauer Sharp's going to get used. I think Jake Roberts is also going to get some usage. But that wide receiver room is so darn stout that it's going to be really, really, really tough to get the ball to those tight ends still. So
Burrito with a leadoff double.
And as Topher mentioned here, this is the one name I had mentioned in a video I did around recruiting is Trinae Washington. He plays tight end as well. Marcus James does also. So you've got 2 dudes.
And Cade McIntyre.
There. you've got McIntyre played tight end, and he's a tight end right now, but he can move to linebacker if you really need him to. Because he played linebacker because I think that was like the choice with him. It was either one of those two. And then if you do Shield Knight, you can move him. Nixon can play tight end as well.
EPL can play tight end.
I don't know if I want to play EPL. I want EPL at running back. I want to pull him like a Vita Vea. Put him at running back and let him just juke
The thing
folks.
is with this tight end room for Oklahoma is I think you want to get at least one guy in this class. Like, I think that's ideal. But
that's fair.
If Caden Helms comes out and just starts balling out this year, which is a possibility, like, I mean, you might be in a good spot because Trene Washington's probably going to play tight end for you.
He can.
And
he's good.
And don't put it past Oklahoma to screw around a little bit with Carry On.
Yeah,
as a
he's a hybrid. He's a hybrid for sure.
He is. Yeah. He is going to be Andrews. I make the joke every single time, but there's no chance that he stays wide receiver exclusive for 4 years. I can't see it.
I'm about 99% that he does, just because he's really good on the outside. Well, now, the problem I run into with him is that you're not going to be able to trick many teams with him at tight end because he's not going to do H-back. They won't put him at H-back. Right?
No.
They won't even have him pulling the block, right? And that's where my concern comes in of even thinking Carry On could even have a chance of doing that. I think he'll be on that outside, and he's going to be a monster on the outside.
That's why I say a flex tight end, because I mean, it is, hey, we're lining him up for a route, and he's going to play tight. And I don't think it's going to be a situation where, like, you're putting him at the end. Oh, there we go. Wild pitch. OU scores.
Well, no, it was a throw. She tried to catch her at third base and threw it past her. Yeah, wild throw out.
I just don't understand.
Error.
You just don't do stuff like that. You cannot make mistakes at OU, and you definitely can't make like wild pitches. And this is how Texas lost last year. It's how Oklahoma State lost last year too.
This is the Texas we expected all year long. Like, when we went to go play them, they played the best defense of their lives in Austin. And this is the Texas that we've seen all year. A Texas defense that makes errors. They're not that great. And Oklahoma has clearly taken advantage of it.
And that ball hit Brito right in the elbow. And, I mean, it wasn't close. That never was going to get caught. So, but no, I mean, I just go with this is I just think the reason why I say the thing about Carry On is wide receivers are so stacked, and you have so much that if they want him on the field, that might be an option, because you can straight up just be like, we're lining up right here, split off the line, and he's going to go down the middle. Safety or linebacker, which one do you want?
Yeah, no, that's a good option. My deal is, again, like I said, if Caden Helms is what we want him to be, he's an option. Then you've got, what's his name? The 5-star. Devon Mitchell. And then you've got, McKinstry. Like Oklahoma's just got they've just got some like wild cards in that room. And then if Jake Roberts goes out there, which I think he's going to be our pass blocking tight end primarily, and he shows out, and then you get Bauer Sharp to, I think you probably get Bauer Sharp for 2 years. I don't think he leaves after this year. I don't think he's going to put that much on film to work himself into to leaving Oklahoma.
Yeah. If he's got 2 years of eligibility, he stays for 2 years.
You're fine if you're Oklahoma, but like you still got to go into the portal because you can't work with just freshmen. Wow, that was a nice robbery, because that was going to be a home run. You can't roll out there with just freshmen in your second year in the SEC as your backups to your starters.
Yep. Bauer has 2 years eligibility, so I'm assuming that he's going to be playing.
Yeah, Jake will be gone. Jake will be gone. He doesn't have any eligibility after this. So.
Yep.
But no, I mean, it's a big weekend. It's a really big weekend for your OVs, just because this is going to set the tone. And this is like if you land off a lava, it's going to kind of push the paper with the other offensive linemen.
And PG, I'm very, very under the impression that Poj is going to end up a 5-star. I think Afalava has an outside chance. So, I mean, you put your work in with Afalava. You've got Poj, and he continues to rise. And after those, I mean, you land one of those guys, and you've got 3 5-star offensive linemen. And
I was talking
I was going to say, too, based upon what I've been hearing the rumbles go around, is that it's like Oklahoma's really just going to swing for the fences on the tackles.
And I don't think it's just going to swing for the fences. I was talking to Foj today. We had an interview today, and we were talking about, hey, who you recruiting Norman? He said Fasusi and Haywood, right? And I've heard that from a lot of players that are currently committed in this class and guys that are already on campus. Like Daniel Akankumi is talking to Fasusi a lot. I think Oklahoma, if they have a chance to get Ty Haywood and Fasusi, they might pay for both.
Hey, listen, I know of a specific gas station chain that has somebody along the offensive line in our history that will pony up.
And I've heard they're playing for the big fish this cycle. This is the cycle that I know Beatonbow liked the offensive linemen, the prospects, and this is the one they're going to swing for the fences on to add to last year's class. So that 24 class was a big offensive line class. This one should also be a nice size offensive line class, and that should taper us to where we can get get like 3 offensive linemen per class type setup. So
do you think that there's battles between OU and Texas for a couple of these guys, and a couple of these guys are going to want to watch? Well, I mean, I know that there are, but I mean, like, they're going to want to watch like what the beginning of the season looks like, or do you think that has nothing to do with?
That has nothing to do with it.
I don't think that has anything to do with it either. Yeah,
I've been told that there's so much proven success at this point with what Bill Beatonbow's been able to do in first round, and the thing is, like, the talk that Sexton could be a first round tackle this year, and the talk that Hickman could be a first-round tackle this year is resonating. Like, it's like, okay, so he could really try to put in 3 in a row, 3 tackles, and potentially 2 this year.
Right, yeah. Branson has been talked up heavily on – I've seen it. I don't think it's all one mock that they had him late first. So, and if he has the season he's supposed to, because he's been a 3 years – he was a 2-year starter at SMU. You
need somebody at the back end of the draft who loses their center to retirement, like a Kelsey situation, I think, to get a center in the first round. I mean, I still take a center in the second round as a pretty damn impressive, deal, because didn't Creed was he the last pick of the first round, or was he right into the second round, right?
Man, here's my deal.
First round tackle. No, not first round tackle. First round
center. Sexton would be your tackle. And Sexton's going to have a pretty incredible year. But it's possible. It's possible.
He's slated for it.
Hickman, though, he was already the 4th highest graded center. And the thing is, I think the league has seen what Bill Beatonbow did with Creed Humphrey, and if he could kind of tweak some things with Hickman and make him that. There's going to be a team that's just going to go, yeah, we've got an aging center, we're going to take that risk, probably. Right. There's going to be that.
That's what I'm talking about. It's
even if their center's not going to retire, like, somebody's going to take that risk, because if they go, oh, Bill Beatonbow has put that stamp of approval and he did that with Creed, I want that guy. I think the thing that I look at is, if you can land 2 5-star tackles in this class, then in 2026 it makes your life a whole lot easier to go out there and get Emmanuel and Hanako, which I want that kid. That kid, I think, is a freak. I mean, I don't know if y'all have seen him. He's like 6'7", 340 or something like that.
And you want that. That's another Tyler Guyton that you want to get out there.
Emmanuel and Hanako. That's what you need to remember the name. Emmanuel and Hanako.
He reminds me of the Alabama O tackle that's going to be a sophomore this year. His name escapes me too right now. But I mean,
he reminds me of the Baylor guy.
The one everybody's trying to figure out what the heck he's been, that giant.
Yeah, that's who he reminds me of.
Wait, no, that's the defensive lineman that killed people.
But no, this dude is like that big though.
Yeah, I mean, he is massive, and I mean, that's.
Are you talking about Wilkin?
I don't know his name. I just know he's a big Baylor.
Coop. You talking about returning lineman for
offensive tackle Caden Proctor?
Oh, Caden Proctor. Yeah, the one that just transferred back. Yes.
Caden Proctor is as close as I think he'd get looks in the second round coming out of high school. Just his intangibles and his measurables and all that stuff. And I mean, he's got to play 2 more years just to go to the NFL. And so I mean, it's
the crazy thing is
Emmanuel is going to be a dog.
The crazy thing though is Fasusi that far off from Proctor, because Fasusi is like one of those guys where he's a plug and play. He's a plug and play. Like
he is,
and that's why I want Floyd Boucard so bad on the defensive line, because Floyd Boucard is just like Fasusi. He's a plug and play. He's like, he needs to tweak his weight a little bit, but outside of that, that man's ready. Like you can plug him in, he can ready to go.
You're seeing it more and more out of some of these kids. Guys like Jonah Williams. A lot of these guys are coming in and they're ready to rock right from the get.
Hey, let's wrap this up with this one though. We're getting a little bit of almost an hour and 15 in. Glad y'all been chilling with us. Over 600 people viewing. Man, it's a very good episode today. Y'all saw the Fong bombs go down. I dropped a video on this. Jaden O'Neal, quarterback, 2026. PG is best friends with. Just the fact that we've got all of these predictions came in that quickly. How we feeling about that? I feel good about it. At that point,
I literally last night, because y'all saw, if by the way, if you guys aren't in Jay's Discord and you guys want some information on recruiting, you just need to join Discord.
Link is in the description.
I was in there last night at like 1 a.m. dropping all of the notes about Jaden O'Neal, and then the next morning, everybody wakes up. Chad Simmons and Steve Wiltfong, they doing their thing.
Josh McQuistion throws his in. Boom.
Yep.
So it's like everybody.
My boy Brisket threw his chicken wing in there. Boom.
Yeah, like everybody in Jay's Discord had like an 8-hour heads up that this was going down. But no, with Jaden O'Neal, it's like I thought last night. I'm like, man, should I make my own? And I was like, nah, I'm just gonna wait because Darian Coleman
made a prediction video.
But man, I did today. But last night I got an interesting text that said, hey, like I think Darian Coleman could end up at UCF, and I was like, oh really? And then the follow-up text with that was, Texas didn't offer Jaden O'Neal, and he's coming back to Oklahoma. And then I got this picture of Jaden O'Neal walking into the Texas facilities with OU gear on, and I was like, this is interesting. And then, like, I've heard for like a month now that, hey, the O'Neals, they love Oklahoma. First option for Seth Luttrell and BV. And, we're getting to that point now where we saw with Kevin Sperry, like Kevin Sperry was committed in like April or May last year. Like BV wants to have these quarterbacks committed early because they're going to be the best peer recruiter, and he wants to get them working, right? So
done. Ladies, close it out.
I think we're going to have a quarterback commitment, whether it's your Coleman or your O'Neal, whoever it is. I think it could be O'Neal.
What's your pick? I mean, what's your pick of your choice? No, I mean, like, which one do you think?
Jaden O'Neal, he's the better. Okay. He's the most athletic guy. I think Darian Coleman probably has a higher upside, but it's a lot more risky. As O'Neal, which by the way, Kelly Maxwell just finished tonight. They didn't have to switch pitchers, so it's 8-3.
Yep, she closed it.
Yep, that's good for her. So we'll probably see Nicole May tomorrow, which is going to be interesting.
Perfect.
See how OU fans react to that, because they seem to all be Patty Gassos out there. But. No, I think it'll be O'Neal. He's the more athletic quarterback. He's better outside of the pocket. He's a little bit more defined right now. He's got a really good deep ball. Like I don't know if you guys have watched this film, but he's got a good deep ball.
You can go to Sooner or Later Sports, that channel. If you're not watching it on that channel now, if you're not watching on Unfair Sports, go to that one. I put a video out there and I showed all his highlights from Elite 11. As well as from his sophomore season where he threw for 2,700 yards and 27 touchdowns, 2,800 yards, 27 touchdowns. Stupid. Yes, his deep ball. He has a beautiful touch, good accuracy, and he has a cannon. It's everything you want.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I mean, you got O'Neal coming in this weekend, and it's going to be. I think Oklahoma is going to do what they need to this weekend to shut down a quarterback commitment, and you'll see it probably by the end of July. I'd bet.
Yeah, and
all right.
I tell you what, the O'Neal kid, I think I saw somebody put in the primetime player. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, it's what we wanted Kyler to look like from a height standpoint, and
yeah,
I mean,
I know, right?
It's somewhere between Paul Thompson and Kyler Murray, like just with the size, and I mean, this is crazy. Now, I do say that if you're wondering, can we hold on to every single one of these quarterbacks? Like, no, I don't really see that happening. Somebody's going to eventually want to. But that's the game you play. You're going to lose. I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, we got a lot of quarterbacks that are transferring because they want to come in and they want to play. If you're ready earlier now, then more than ever. I mean, you rewind to how. I mean, PG, I know that you're like 26, but Jay and I, we didn't have weight rooms in their football, back in the day. And, it's just so crazy how advanced these high school programs are. And so O'Neal, though, it puts a smile on my face, and that'll be one of my favorite players before he is a senior in high school. I mean, it's just crazy. That's all I have to say about that.
No, but to build off the O'Neal stuff, for your camps this weekend, he's not the only big prospect that you're getting in that Oklahoma, I think, has a chance of shutting down early with. Felix Ojo is going to be on campus. Bill Beanwell's got a great relationship there. He's out of Texas. I don't know what school or where he's out of, but he's out of Texas. That's one that I'm watching. You've got 3-star wide receiver Kedrick Brown. I can't say his other name, like Osunday Brown. And then, I mean, it's a packed list for 2027. They've got Johnny Fitzgerald III on the defensive line out of Red Oak, Texas. That's one that I'm interested to see exactly where he lands. But he looks like a prospect that could blossom a little bit.
It's as we're looking into the 26 and 27 classes, I mean, these numbers don't even make sense to me. But I mean, yeah, the collection of talent Oklahoma's bringing in for these camps, it has been, I mean, I was sarcastic in our texting earlier, PG, but it's, I wish I could be there tomorrow. That would be terrific. So, and then, yeah, Gabe Sawchek's brother did walk on too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man.
I'm interested to see how he's going to be used.
Same. I'm actually intrigued at how that actually works out. But
he has to tell Carry On he's playing tight end.
I'm done. All right, let's wrap it up. We're going almost a minute and almost an hour and 30. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. If you're listening, rate, review. Give us 5 stars. I think we deserve it. Give us 5 anyway, and just gift it. PG, let the people know where to find you.
Yeah, y'all can find me over here on the YouTubes at the PG Show. Like I said, we're doing a lot of recruiting. We break down offers, commitments, things like that. We have interviews. We got one with Ryan Fojay coming up this weekend, so that'll be fun.
Ask him if you like that video.
That's funny. Coop did a good one. We got some more videos coming down the line. Check out the Sooner or Later Sports Show channel. Details in the description below. And with that, we'll chop it up with every single one of y'all in like, I don't know, a day or two. Peace.